Present.
Mr. Steele.
Present. We're going to have redistricting, talk about redistricting tonight. As a board, we appreciate hearing from our patrons regarding their thoughts on the agenda items presented this evening. You can rest assured that your thoughts will be taken into account as we make decisions impacting the children of Joplin schools. As you come to the microphone, there's a clipboard. We ask you to please sign your name and your school that you represent, and you'll have 3 minutes. So anytime you want to.
What's that?
I got one right here.
Pat's keeping time for us.
Oh, you got time, Pat?
Yep.
Okay.
My name is Rick Benson, 3810 Arbor Court. My children go to Cecil Floyd, or my daughter has, and my daughter goes to South Middle School right now. My son is in Cecil, going to go to South next year. My biggest concerns with this are not about the school that my son's going to go to. I have the same level of expectations for his education at north, south, east, what school is at. My main concerns are we looking at this for long term? Are we making the decisions right now for 10 years, 20 years down the road? Or are we making decisions today for next year and the year after? We're going to make a shift. We're going to make a big impact on pulling kids out of South. In 5 years, we'll be having the same discussion about South is overpopulated again. With the investment that Mercy's making out there a quarter mile from South, it's going to be a draw. There will be hundreds of new houses and families near that location. It's just a given. People are attracted to the hospitals where they work and where their kids go to school. There is going to be a growth out there. How are we going to address that growth South in that area when that happens? Are we going to shift it again in a few years when they're not balanced? There's my questions there. Listen to this meeting today. What is the downfall of the middle schools not being balanced population-wise? Why do we need to have an even number of students in each middle school? Could South Middle School not be bigger to accommodate those people in that location? Is there some scale of economics or something I'm missing that I don't understand why those need to be balanced for that? I'd really like to consider, you guys consider the impact this is going to have on potential new people coming to Joplin. I'm in the building industry. I have a very good idea of what doctors look for when they move to Joplin and come to work. They look for location close to work. They look for the location where their kids are going to be going to school. They also want to be close to where their kids go to school. If you hire somebody today that's going to live in the Cecil district, say on the south side of town by my house, they're going to work at Mercy. They're really going to expect their kids to go to South. That way they can take their kids to school, pick their kids up. They can be right there if there's an emergency. Or they can go to school plays, so forth like that. Those are the things that concern me.
Okay. Thank you, Rick.
Sir.
Did you want to address any of this?
Yeah, I can speak to the shifting to a degree, Rick. One of the challenges you guys know is we don't know what the future holds for Joplin, either within the disaster zone or outside, and there's all kinds of speculation on where the growth is going to occur. And to sit here and tell you that this is a long-term plan that's going to last for the next 20 years, that's not a commitment we can certainly make. I think that as part of the planning process, and you all know as part of the TIP plan, and Paul's been working on, as well as Mike and Jeff, about the property for potential new elementary school at some point. If we need to have a new elementary school someday in that TIF zone. As far as middle schools are concerned, if we have that kind of explosive growth, which is possible, but if we do, there's no doubt that we're going to have redistricting happen again. I mean, there's just no way around it. As far as the balancing, why is that so important now? I think it's from our standpoint, it's important from the standpoint that as we look at the potential for growth in different areas, being poised for that, regardless of where it pops up, is important. That could buy us a few years from a redistricting standpoint. We're fortunate and unfortunate in the sense prior to the storm we were a very stable community. Redistricting didn't happen very often. I'm not sure, and you guys would know much more history than I do about the last time we redistricted in this community. I don't know if we redistricted at all with the 3 new middle schools that we built or not. But okay, and what we've tried to do is very little redistricting now. The big shift, obviously, is the movement from Cecil to the north attendance zone. That's the big one, and that's the biggest challenge. So I appreciate Rick's comments. I mean, I absolutely agree. I mean, it's a challenge for us, and certainly not a long-term. I don't think it's a long-term fix, but hopefully it's a fix for a number of years. So,
is there? I don't know if I'm out of line here or not. Should we not wait until the other people that are down there have an opportunity to come and sit and listen to each one's comments, or?
So I work at the will of the board, so whatever you guys want, however you want to do that.
That's fine.
They're going to run long because they're going to all come down and comment. They're all going to use the 3 minutes.
Pardon?
There's going to be a lot, you'll have plenty of people that
Okay.
ask, because they're all down
Might as well
there.
wait.
They're asking questions there when they.
What's that, Jennifer?
Questions here.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me, hold on just a second. I'll read my little statement then. As a board, we appreciate hearing from our patrons regarding your thoughts on the agenda items presented this evening. You can rest assured that your thoughts will be taken into account as we make decisions impacting the children of Joplin schools. Please come to the microphone and state your name and the school that you represent, and you will have 3 minutes. There's a clipboard too. We would like for you to sign your clipboard too, but you can come up anytime. If you guys want to do it now, that's fine, or you can wait for everybody else to come in, that's fine too. Is that on, Dan? Danny?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Hello. Hello. Oh,
You're good.
hi. My name is Jennifer Martucci, and my kids attend Cecil Floyd Elementary School and Joplin High School. I have 4 kids. Sophomore at the high school, a freshman, a 5th grader at Cecil Floyd, and a 2nd grader at Cecil Floyd. And what I'd like to ask the board to consider is, in talking to Mike Landis this morning, he suggested that if there were an academic reason to look at this redistricting. And an idea that I had and that came up is, what about making our middle school curriculum STEM programs, a magnet school for science, technology, engineering. That's a curriculum that could segue into our high school curriculum that they're changing it, looking at making it more career-oriented. There are some schools in California that are doing this, and they have these STEM programs, and then they also have visual and performing arts school, magnet schools. The kids, you test into the school, you apply to go to these schools, and a lot of times they use a lottery system to allow kids in because the kids want to go to this school. The district would be able to control their enrollment at the middle schools, which they're saying is an issue that they're concerned with. You could control your free and reduced lunch because those you can have. I mean, that's what they do in college. Is they look at your financial need a lot to get into these schools as well, and that could, like I said, could go right into the high school program. These kids would be more prepared for high school and it is a middle school curriculum. It's set up specifically for middle schools. Transportation is on the parents to get into these schools. You understand if you apply to go to these schools and you want your child to go to these schools, transportation is on you. So the district would not necessarily have to provide busing to the schools for those kids that would come in. And a lot of times they also have a waiting list to get in. So as a child drops out, you can fill their spot with another child who wants to come in. So those are just an idea that I thought I would present that maybe hadn't been looked at, that might increase the education that our kids could get, and that would make Joplin schools a model for other schools. So thank you for.
Thank you, Jennifer.
And I know you didn't ask any questions, but I want to thank you for coming in and visit with me today and the way you carried yourself. And I would like to talk to you some more about that. We have been talking about some of those types of things internally, and we'll be happy to visit with you about some of those ideas if you've got some time.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. There's more that's came in. I'll read this statement again. As a board, we appreciate hearing from our patrons regarding their thoughts on the agenda items presented this evening. You can rest assured your thoughts will be taken into account as we make decisions impacting the children of Joplin schools. If you would like to come forward, you can please state your name and the school you represent, and you have 3 minutes. You can come up to the microphone if you would like to talk to the board.
Hello, my name is Wendy Bruckner Post, and I have 2 students at Cecil Floyd. I have a 5th grader and a 3rd grade student at Cecil Floyd. There were a couple things that I was concerned about. Number one, the timing. I just wanted to know how long and how many times this parent group met when they discussed these issues. I guess from what they just told us in the other room, it was 2 times. And I also wanted to know how the representatives from each school were chosen. I've been an officer of the PTA at Cecil Floyd for 6 years. I just resigned in December. I had other commitments, and I was not aware of this at all, so it wasn't something that we discussed as a PTA. I know in the other room they also said that Cecil Floyd was hit hard, and we're hitting a lot of these students again. My 5th grade son was very upset learning that he would have to go to another school. I don't think there was a lot of time, because again, it's February, they're getting ready to graduate in May, and the students, I think if we had told them at the beginning of the year, you're going to be going to North or East or South, it would have been a lot different. We attend a lot of events at South because I wanted my son to get used to that school and acclimated there. So now we're giving them, you know, some information to tell them, well, you may not be going there. It also doesn't give parents more time to move, and I know we're trying to prepare for the future, and really it's a hypothetical. I'm also a banker in Joplin, and I work in lending. And to say that we are projecting growth there, we don't really know. I know that Wallace Bajali Group has put out a lot of projections, but I think we need to give it a little more time, do a little more studying and some more research, and see what really comes to pass in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
I think as far as the timing of this, these are conversations we've been having for quite a while. The redistricting, as I mentioned in the previous meeting, is something that needed to happen even pre-storm. And we were having conversations about that internally, about what that might look like. We started having those discussions through our facilities planning and looking at where the growth areas in Joplin were going to be. We're very concerned about the Jefferson attendance area. Pre-storm still are. It was unimpacted, and that's where the largest percentage of childbearing age mothers currently resides, and so that's still an area of concern. With what's happened out on the east side of town, the Dunawig, Duquesne area, potential redevelopment there. There's certainly a lot of pressure that could come out from that direction as well. So you're absolutely right. You know, it's been a moving target. We're making some of the best guesstimates we can based on the best information we have today. And as far as the parent meetings are concerned, there were 2 meetings, and you are correct about that. As far as how individuals were selected to participate, we asked our building principals to talk to their PTOs, and I believe, and I could be incorrect on this, I believe the PTO president, is that right, at Cecil was the representative from Cecil Floyd. And it's my understanding she wasn't able to make the second meeting. There were 2 meetings, and she wasn't able to make the second one. And I can't fix that certainly, but the reason that we went through that process was to get some initial parent input in terms of the priorities, put together a plan, bring it to that parent group, and say this is what we're looking at. This is what we're looking at. What do you think? And we took that information that we got from that meeting and then went through a process then that brought us to this evening's meeting, where parents are we are asking for your input, and we are listening. I hope if nothing else you get that out of tonight's meeting, that we are listening, and that there will be some opportunities for some tweaks and adjustments between now and the board meeting on February 26th. Thank you.
I'll wait for them to come through, and then I'll read this again. As more people walk in the door, I'll read this once again. As a board, we appreciate hearing from our patrons regarding their thoughts on the agenda items presented this evening. You can rest assured that your thoughts will be taken into account as we make decisions impacting the children of Joplin schools. If you'd like to come forward, and please state your name and the school that you represent, and you have 3 minutes to speak to the board. So there's a microphone up there if any of you would like to come up and address the board at this time. Yes. Then after you get done, we'll ask you to sign the clipboard when you get done.
You bet.
Okay.
I'm Neil Smith. My kids attend Cecil Floyd and South Middle School. And, you know, as we just came from the other room over there and we were discussing, you know, our concerns is obviously, number one, I'm not necessarily in favor of the redistricting at this current time. I feel like we've had so many changes over the last year or two with obviously the F5 tornado that came through our area. I don't feel like it's necessary, as I mentioned to them over there, is that I would like to see more information that really proves numbers-wise and why this has to be done right now by August of this year. Have to is a really word to me that means we have to or else we're not going to survive. I was told there was going to be trailers at South if we continued on in the next year or two and didn't have that. I just don't see where numbers-wise that's going to happen. Secondly, we discussed maybe even building on to South in the near future, but really back to the center of things is number one is, you know, is this really worth causing more change and emotional uprooting for our area who's been affected in such a way by the tornado, and now we're going to go ahead and move all of our kids who, my kids don't want to move. We love our schools and we don't want to go anywhere. You know, obviously, geographically speaking, in some people's mind it makes sense, in my mind it doesn't, and everybody has a difference of opinion. And anytime redistricting happens, there's always going to be an unhappy party, and that's totally understood. So I appreciate your guys' efforts, but you know, my concern also is that the process of the entire thing, you know, where we live, we really didn't know much about it until my kid brings home a letter. And you know, I think that I would just really ask as a lady that's not even being affected, her kids aren't being affected, ask us over there to just not be so hasty and really stop and step back and rethink this, because it seems like that with the new hospitals and everything coming in, there's going to be a real good possibility we'll have redistricting again happening really soon. So is this something that has to be done this year? That's my question to you guys, because you know, the numbers say to me that, you know, just to balance out free lunches and a few other things that were on the list that we were showed over in the other room, doesn't seem like that's good enough reason to uproot a lot of people who don't want to be uprooted at this time. Hope that makes sense.
Time. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to sign in, please.
All right. Do I need to put my name?
Yes. I guess you can put someone else's than I.
Well, I didn't know if I needed to go again.
For those that just came in just a few minutes ago while he was speaking, if you'd like to come to address the microphone and talk to the board, please state your name and the school you represent, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Anyone else? Come on up, sign the clipboard, and you have 3 minutes. Everybody did.
No, CJ.
Sure.
My name is Melissa Braun, and I have a 6th grader at East. I am one of the few parents who does not oppose this change. I do oppose the fact that the letter that I got from Dr. Huff says that the new boundaries will take effect in the 2013-14 school year. Now they're telling me that as a 6th grader he has to stay at East. I don't want him to stay there. I want my son to go to the new school, which would be South. So there's a lot of confusion. In the other meeting, they've said that they will look at permits, then they say they won't look at permits, and that if we have a child already in this middle school, we must leave with it. So that is my thought for you guys. I don't want him to stay there. I want him to go to the new school that the letter says he will go to.
And just to address that, Melissa, thank you. And one of the conversations, I believe, Melissa, I don't think you and I have talked directly, except maybe by email. I can't remember.
Yeah, Jason and I talked.
Okay, you and Jason have talked. One of the challenges we have with South Middle School with the numbers, if we allow permits into South initially, it may increase the numbers there, but it's not off the table. It just depends on where the numbers play out at the end in terms of whether or not there'd be room for any permits into South as a part of the process.
We were pretty much just told it's off the table in there. So
Okay.
that's why I came here, because that's not what we, I mean, there's some of us who actually want to move our children.
it's all gonna come down the numbers, Melissa, one way or the other, and that buck stops here, so we'll take a look at that.
I mean, if it wasn't for the standard-based grading, I wouldn't try to move him, but because of that, that is my main goal in trying to get him out of East.
Travis Smith, representing Cecil Floyd. Just a couple comments that have already been said, but I want to reiterate that. One is we do seem to be moving awfully quickly with not a lot of notice. And for those families who are adamant about the school district that they want to remain in, it doesn't give them much option by August to do something different if they want to stay in the district and the school system that they feel comfortable with. I think it seems a lot more appropriate to, put this off, give families a year and a half to mull this over and to think about it and to consider it. This is just moving along really quick with, again, not any opportunity for families to make adjustments if that's what they want to do. The second comment that I have, that not knowing a lot about it, but I've tried to investigate as much as I could here in the last week or so that's been brought to my attention, is it seems like one of the comments made in the other room was that ideally they would have liked to have a clean slate and they would have done things differently. I understand we have physical locations of the schools, but the boundaries could have been possibly reworked, would have been ideal for the elementary schools. What I'm thinking is that with 200 students plus being affected is what we were told, the reality is that there's multiple middle schools being affected with this, so there are really hundreds of kids more than that being affected. Although the marketing seems to be concentrating, there's only 200 kids, there's far more than that. So my point is that if this is a Band-Aid approach, in other words, if this is something that's going to come up again in a few years, that redistricting is going to have to be discussed again because this is more of a Band-Aid approach, then I think now's the time to sit back and go, okay, as they were saying in the other room, if we had it ideally, what would we do different? And it was to remark the boundaries of the elementary schools. And maybe that might be the best way to do it long term than potentially upsetting a bunch of families now, and then several years down the road, we have to go upset a bunch of families and children again. So that's my comments.
Time. Hey, you want to move over here so I can watch the time closer with you? Come on over. My timekeeper's going to move over here. Thank you, Travis.
Oh, did I have more time?
No, she don't. I keep looking over there at you at your time. Do what? Oh, you're fine. Any else? Okay, there's more coming up.
Sorry.
You're fine.
Never been through this process before. I just wanted to come up here.
And what's your name?
Stacy Smith.
Okay.
And I would like to say that my child personally is not affected by what all this redistricting is, but I am here as a member of this community and for the people behind me who are a little bit upset. As somebody who is on the outside looking into all the emotion going on about this redistricting, I think that what we need to do is just take a step back and not be in such a rush. I think that these families who've been through enough already need a better transition into what's happening. I think that the board and the school district is making this seem like it's a rush and a have to right now, this next coming school year, when that's not necessarily the case. And I think if you just take a step back and let all of these families absorb what needs to happen for the future, you all will get a better reaction out of the community. So I'm asking you today, as just a member of this community, to consider that going forward and give these parents time to talk through this whole process with you and come out with boundaries that will work for everyone, not only them, but for the school district as a whole. I don't think there's anyone in this room that doesn't understand what needs to happen, but there needs to be a better way for it to happen. So I'm just asking you today to consider that in your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy.
Okay, with you, I'll address some of these last comments. As far as academics are concerned at our 3 middle schools, very equal. In fact, without getting into the nuts and bolts of it, our MAP scores at North are amongst the highest in the districts among our middle schools. And curriculum-wise, there's been a question about, maybe you've heard it, about geometry and whether geometry is offered at North. That's certainly something we can offer. It's just not something that's been requested in years past. So we can do some things like that. We do have some flexibility there. The free and reduced lunch piece, that was a concern of the parents that participated in the committee, that they did not want to get into this haves and have-nots type of a scenario where we've got high poverty elementary schools or high poverty middle schools and trying not to. They wanted to see balance there, and we felt like that was an important thing to honor to the best degree we can, not being the only factor, but certainly a factor, so that we didn't have issues related to that and perceptual issues that come with that. So.
Anyone else would like to address the board? You have 3 minutes. Please come up and please state your name and the school that you're representing. Come back over, timekeeper.
Yes, my name is Stacy Iorio. This is very quick. I am actually on the PTO of North Middle School, and I welcome anyone to come over to our wonderful school and take a tour. And I think you would be surprised if you've never been to it. It gets me emotional coming to this meeting because I feel like people don't know what they're talking about. So just to let you know that we are a wonderful school and we welcome you all to come over. I'm glad you mentioned the MAP testing scores. North's MAP test scores are actually higher than South's. Probably pretty surprising to a lot of people. Communication arts are about the same. Demographics, I know that was brought up in a meeting recently. The free and reduced lunch is higher at Cecil Floyd than it is at North. So, maybe there is some issues out there that you are just unaware of, and that maybe if you keep an open mind, this process that we have to go through to make the schools a little more equal in population may not be such a bad thing. So I just ask that you keep an open mind and come and visit us. The principals are wonderful, the teachers are wonderful. The kids really want to be there and learn, and it's a great school. So.
Thank you, Stacy. Yes, please come up and please state your name and what school you represent, and please sign the clipboard too, if you would. You have 3 minutes.
I'm Diane Dillon, and I don't really have a dog in this fight after this year because my daughter's an 8th grader and I have a son that's a senior, so we're not directly affected. But I feel very emotional about this, and I may cry because I love my school. My son went to Memorial, the old Memorial, which is now the kids at South. I've had experience at both schools, and I have to say I'm extremely happy with North, and I will admit I was dragging my heels about all that when there were not going to be permits anymore. And one of the things was the geometry question, because it is not fair that South gets to take geometry and the kids at North and East don't. My child's in gifted. Guess what? We have gifted kids at North too. It's a great school, and I think the elephant in the room is that it's not geography, it's not that it's farther, it's not that it's changed, it's that it is not wanting to be with kids that you perceive as maybe having less than what you're used to. And I don't think you can go anywhere in Joplin schools and find that. I'd like to believe, I hope that's not true. I hope that's not true. But I wish
Diane,
you'd come and visit.
it's your microphone. Please continue.
Okay. I wish you'd come and visit and see we're not making meth in science class. We're not using it in the hallways. It's a wonderful school. We do not have drug issues. We do not have violence issues. It is a well-run school. We have the best administration you can ask for. I have been in more than one of the middle schools during passing time, before and after school. Our school's highly supervised. My daughter loves it. I could not be happier. And I hope that you would all have more open minds and come visit. I know change is hard. I get that. If my child were changing, I wouldn't be happy either. But please think about what you're doing and come see us before you make decisions. Think about it. It's a great school. If we get geometry. Or if we put get rid of the geometry for everybody, because there's plenty of time in high school. There are 4 years in high school. Take lots of math. There's lots of things offered there too. So they're all going to end up in the same place in high school. They're all going to end up in the same place. Let's make things fair and even. We were promised that when we got the 3 middle schools. We were promised everything would be fair and even. This is going to help make it even or more even. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Anyone else would like to address the board? Please state your name and the school that you represent. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Patrick Martucci. I represent Cecil Floyd Elementary, where 2 of my kids go to school. I just want to clarify for the people I know and myself and my family, this is not a North versus South issue. This is not a privileged versus underprivileged issue. This is not an issue of free lunch versus not having a free lunch. This is an issue of slowing down and looking and considering the options for kids who have had a lot of change already happen to them in the last 2 years and are about to face a big change that affects them. And we want to make sure that that change has been well thought out and that it slows down and that everybody's voices are considered. We have parents from East who are affected by this. It's not just a North versus South issue. I want to make sure it's not perceived or represented as a North versus South issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Anyone else would like to address the board? Please state your name and the school you come from, and you have 3 minutes.
I didn't want y'all to get bored, so figured I'd get my little 3 minutes in. I'm Dr. Jeff Manley. I represent Cecil Floyd Elementary. You know, I'm new to the community. I've been here 8 months, and I was recruited by Mercy to be a new OBGYN in town. And when I was recruited here, schools were kind of high on the list in terms of where I wanted to buy a house, where I wanted to make a big investment into the community. And not once did I run into a community member that said, "You really want to be in South?" Or I'm saying, that's what they all said. You don't want to go to South. But whether that's a stigma or whether it's not, it's kind of what the community believes. So that's number one. Number two is I can't even fathom what the people in the tornado went through. And my kids have been moved around from place to place and place. And again, just 8 months ago, and we moved here. And so I can't even say that my kids are going to be affected. You know, these kids are affected a lot more than that. The other thing that I find interesting is it is going really fast. It seems like. About a year, 18 months before I got here, kind of watched the news and see how the bond issue came about. And my concern is none of this was brought up before the bond issue. At least in my knowledge, it wasn't even mentioned. And I have a feeling that maybe the bond issue might have been affected a little bit differently if a lot of the community knew that the redistricting, how they would be affected during the redistricting. Now, I'm just making assumptions here because I've only been here 8 months, but I think it's a pretty good assumption. So I think I just echo what everybody else echoes, is kind of slow down, take a look at things, get some more community involvement in this. I come kind of as an outsider. Of course, I don't want to move my kids again, you know, when we just got here and just getting settled and just finding a few friends at South that we, you know, really enjoy being with. The other question I have that keeps coming up is permits. And I don't know what the number of permits people are permitting into South and who's allowed to permit into certain schools. But I think those are the kids that should go first, you know. So redefining these lines is one thing, but making sure that the kids are going where they need to go is another thing. And people bought their houses in, say, east or north or south based on that fact. But when you look at the districting, you look at this really big blue area that goes all the way to 7th and Main, they have to go south. Then you have people that are in the south part of Cecil Floyd District on Coyote Drive that have to go to north. So I think maybe redistricting where the elementaries feed, and maybe those 3 schools that are the biggest now wouldn't be the biggest then.
You got about 10 seconds.
I'm good.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Anyone else would like to come and address the board? Please state your name and your school that you represent, and you have 3 minutes. Anyone else want to address the board? Yeah. Is there anybody out there in the halls besides you guys standing at the door? Is a few? Okay. Got someone else come up. Cool. Come up, please state your name and the school that you represent, and you'll have 3 minutes. And then when you get done, we'd ask you to please sign the clipboard there on the table.
I was standing over there trying to talk myself out of doing this, but I wasn't successful. My name is Richard Chambers. I have a student who is at Kelsey Norman currently and a student who is at East. And so if I understand right, one will probably be affected in one way, the other will not be. So we're kind of on both sides of the equation. But I know that it's a very emotional topic. People feel very strongly about it. And I know you're going to receive many complaints. And so I'm not here to give a complaint. I'm here to kind of represent the other side of the column. Whether a decision is made now or later, and however the districting takes place, there are going to be parents that are unhappy. And I understand that, and I mean no disrespect to those that are unhappy about it. But if you move forward to this plan, you're going to have some unhappy parents. That's just a fact. If you do a different plan, you're going to have some unhappy parents. That's just the fact. But I would just like to encourage folks to kind of step back and remember we had an EF5 tornado go through the middle of town. What a unique situation this city and this board and this school district has been thrust into. I'm just thankful to you and the administration that we're even at this point already where this is even in the discussion. To me, it's absolutely amazing what has happened here in this town and with this school district. And so I just want to thank you and commend you for what I think is a job very well done to have us at this point already. I've just been very proud of this community, and one of the things that has impressed me so much has been the spirit of cooperation after the tornado. And so I would just like to encourage that spirit of cooperation to be carried into this discussion, and that there be some understanding exercised, and that we move forward as best as we can, knowing that whatever decision you make is not going to be pleasing to all the parents. And so we understand, or I understand, that you can't make this decision based upon pleasing parents. but you need to make this decision based upon what you actually feel is best for the district now and in the future. So to summarize, thank you, and job well done, and just appreciate everything that's progressed to this point.
Thank you, Richard. Anyone else that would like to address the board, you would have 3 minutes to address the board. Please come forward and state your name and the school that you represent. What time is it? Oh, okay.
7:30.
Anyone else would like to stand before the board and have their 3 minutes of fame, I guess you'd call it? We're going to adjourn this meeting at 7:30, so anyone else would please like to come forward now at this time?
Hi, I'm Matt Auer, and I have kids that go to Cecil Floyd and South Middle School. And one of my questions from the meeting that we had over here was, it had all these plans in place once we got a letter from the Black Ops operation, that we got this letter sent home from school. And then it said the very last thing on this letter was the free lunch program. And then when we do it in here, it's the very first one on the list. I mean, so somewhere there's a disconnect in the information that we're getting. And so I'm just trying to understand where the priorities are on the list. And this isn't a north-south issue. I mean, I know the principal at North Middle School, known him for a long time. This isn't a haves and have-nots. We're just comfortable where we're at. We live on the south side of town. And this is really kind of what it's about. It's affected everybody as an issue in our neighborhood and the neighborhood south of us. And people are just really passionate about where they go to school. And I think if you rush this thing through, you're going to just have a bunch of upset parents. And more than that, upset kids. I mean, this is really about the kids. It isn't about parents being upset. And this is, I mean, this comes from myself. I've spent every free minute of my time helping Joplin youth in this town, coaching youth football, coaching youth basketball, coaching youth baseball, kids from north, kids from east, kids from south. I mean, so we have an interest in every kid that's in this school system. It's not just the kids that go to Cecil Floyd and they're going to end up going to north or going to south. But we just ask that you slow this down, take a different approach, and not try to rush everything like it seems from everybody here, because the first letter that we got, nobody knew anything about. Then we get a letter from the North Middle School principal who's welcoming us to come take a tour on Valentine's Day from 11 to 12, when everybody knew that every school in town had a half day of school on Valentine's Day, and then on Friday from 2 to 3, which was great that they sent a letter out for everyone to come and do that. But who can go do that? Spur of the moment, we got the letter on Wednesday, the meeting's on Thursday. Who can do that? Some people have to work for a living and just can't take off whenever they want and do stuff, and it's just hard for everyone to just encompass all this information so quickly, and that's why you see so much hostility, and people are angry about this and they want answers, but you're not going to get by doing it so fast. So, and I appreciate everyone on the board and your time, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Matt. Time for one more if anybody would like to come state your name and the school you represent, and you have 3 minutes. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for coming out tonight for this meeting. and for your input on this topic. Tonight, the board will not make a decision. Tonight, we came mainly tonight to hear your concerns. So at this time, this meeting will be adjourned, and I need a motion for us to go into a closed session.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Flowers, second by Ms. Sharp. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Oh, and yes.